My friends, kindly allow me a moment here by your router and to use some of your bandwidth to relay to you some words of encouragement and challenge. Tonight we come to the third of Roosevelt's four freedoms, the freedom from want. I want to begin with this simple statement. The state of Iowa grows enough corn in a single year to feed every human being on this planet. Let's let that sit for a minute. One state, one crop, every person on Earth. We aren't talking about a scarcity problem. We have not been talking about a scarcity problem for a very long time. The Earth produces enough. The agricultural has advanced beyond anything Roosevelt could have imagined. Standing in 1941, the technology now exists. The logistics, while complex, are not beyond us. We are a civilization that put men on the moon, that supplied a two-front world war across two oceans, that built the interstate highway systems in a decade. When America decides something is a problem worth solving, America tends to solve it. And yet tonight, 800 million people will go to bed hungry. Children will die of malnutrition before morning, not in some distant century, tonight, in 2026, on a planet that grows enough corn in one state to feed everyone. This is not a natural disaster. That is not an act of God. That is a choice, a set of choices made by human beings embedded in human systems that produce this result reliably, year after year after year, and call it inevitable. It is not inevitable. That is the thing I most want you to hear tonight. It is not inevitable. Franklin Roosevelt understood want in a way that most men of his class did not. He had traveled, he had seen. As a young man of privilege, he could easily have looked at poverty the way the comfortable always look at poverty, as a personal failure, a moral deficiency, a natural consequence of insufficient effort. That was going theory in certain circles of the time, and it was never entirely gone away. He rejected it. What Roosevelt saw, what the Depression had made impossible to ignore even for those who preferred not to look, was that the want was systemic. That the man standing in the bread line was not there because he had failed. He was there because the system had failed him. The bank had failed him. The market had failed him. The arrangements human beings had made with each other about how wealth would be created and distributed had failed him catastrophically, and were failing millions like him simultaneously. That is not a personal failure. That is a design problem. And Roosevelt, being a practical man, believed design problems had design solutions. Not charity, not systems, not handouts, structure. The New Deal was not a sentiment. It was an engineering project. Here's what was broken. Here is what we are going to do to build instead. Freedom from want is the global extension of that same thinking. Not that just Americans freed from the breadline, every person on earth freed from grinding, dignity-destroying, life-shortening condition of not having enough to eat, not having enough to live on, not having the basic material floor beneath them that makes everything else, education, health, precipitation, in the life of the community possible. He named it a freedom, not a charity, a freedom. And that word choice matters tremendously. Charity says, I have more than I need and I will share some of it with you, and you should be grateful, and the arrangement continues at my discretion. Freedom says, this is yours by right, not by my generosity, not contingent on your gratitude or your behavior or your conformity to my expectations. Yours. Because you are a human person, and human persons are entitled to the basic conditions of human life. Roosevelt understood the difference. He understood that want degrades not just the body, but the person. That a man who cannot feed his children is a man whose dignity is under assault every day. That a woman who must choose between food and medicine is a woman whose freedom, her actual practical freedom to make choices about her own life, has been stolen from her by a system that calls itself free will while delivering bondage. Freedom from want is not soft. It is not sentimental. It is the recognition that political freedom without material sufficiency is a cruel joke. You can have all the rights in the world written on all the parchment in the world, and if you cannot feed your family, none of it reaches you. The ballot means nothing to a man who is too hungry to think past today. Roosevelt knew this. He said it in different ways throughout his presidency. The test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much, but it is whether we provide enough for those who have too little. That was 1937. We're still failing that test. Now let me tell you about a garden hose. In December of 1940, year before Pearl Harbor, a reporter asked Roosevelt how he justifies sending war materials to Britain. The lawyers are talking about contracts, neutrality acts, and the complex machinery of intentional international finance, and Roosevelt puts it all aside. He says, "If my neighbor's house is on fire and he needs my garden hose, I lend it to him, the hose. I don't sell it to him. I don't negotiate a contract. When the fire is out, he gives it back." This was the Lend-Lease program, one of the most consequential foreign policy decisions in American history, explained with a garden hose. Roosevelt had a gift for this, the gift of finding the simple human truth inside complicated arrangements and holding it up so everyone could see it. Not because the complicated parts didn't matter, they did. The lawyers earned their fees, but because the complicated parts were in service of something simple. And when you lose sight of the simple thing, the complicated machinery starts serving itself instead. The simple thing about hunger is this: people don't have food. We have food. The question is, why doesn't it get from here to there? And the answer, the honest answer, that one does not flinch, is not logistics. We can solve logistics. The answer is will, political will. The will to build the systems, to fund the infrastructure, to resist the interests that profit from the current arrangements, to insist the abundance of this earth belongs to all the people of this earth, and not merely to those with the power to claim it. The will is what is missing, not the corn. I want to address something about how this gets obscured. There are people, intelligent people, people with advanced degrees and important titles, who will explain to you at considerable length why hunger is actually very complicated, why the solutions that seem obvious are naive, while the market will eventually sort it out if we just give it time, why the attempts to intervene always make things worse, while this is really a cultural problem, or a governance problem, or a population problem, or any other number of problems. That convenient place, the cause, and the solution somewhere other than the choices made by the powerful. They will use long words. They will cite complex models. They'll project an air of regretful sophistication. Would it be that simple? But alas. Don't be fooled. This is the same move that has been made in every era to defend every indefensible arrangement. The slavery apologist had sophisticated arguments. The opponent of women's suffrage had sophisticated arguments. The defender of child labor had sophisticated arguments. Sophistication is not wisdom. Complexity deployed in the service of injustice is just injustice wearing a suit. Simple truth is simple. People are hungry. We have enough food. The arrangements we have made are not delivering it. We can make different arrangements. That is not naive. That is a starting point. The complications come after, in the how, in the sequencing, in the navigation of competing interests and logistical realities, but they have come after the commitment, not before it. You don't get to hide behind the complications to avoid making the commitment. Roosevelt didn't. He committed first, and then he figured out how. That is leadership. That is what freedom from want actually demands of us. My friends, 800 million people tonight. I want you to hold that number not as a statistic, but as it actually is. 800 million individual people, each of them with a name, each of them with people who love them, each of them with a conscience, with questions, with the same irreducible humanity that you and I carry. Each of them hungry tonight, not because the earth failed to provide, but because we have not yet decided their hunger is our problem. It is our problem. Not because we caused it, though the arrangements have contributed to it. Not because we are obligated by guilt. Guilt is a poor motivator and an even poor policy framework. But because we are connected. Because the community of this planet, like the community of faith, like the community of the Republic, only works when we take seriously the claim that the other has on us. Your neighbor's house is on fire. You have a hose. The question Roosevelt asked in 1940 is the same question we are still being asked today. Not whether we have enough. We have enough. Whether we have the will. Freedom from want is not a gift we give the hungry. It is a test we set for ourselves. A measure of whether we actually believe what we say we believe. That every person has dignity. That every person has rights. That every person we celebrate is meant for everyone, or it is meant for no one. We the people. All 800 million of them are included in that we, whether we have acknowledged it or not. It's time we did. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless these United States of America.